What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with my hands-on and first impressions video of the Motorola Moto G Stylus 2021. So let's get started. Now this device is one of the latest mid-range smartphones from Motorola, and it was launched very recently in early January of 2021. Now this phone is the successor to last year's Moto G Stylus 2020, and stay tuned for an upcoming video as I will be comparing this phone to that phone to go over everything that's new. Now for the most up-to-date pricing and availability, take a look at the various links in the video description. I'm also expecting the Moto G Stylus 2021 to eventually be offered by a variety of different carriers, and those carriers usually offer their own deals as well. Now this is the factory unlocked variant of the Moto G Stylus 2021, and this phone will work on all major US carriers. Now before I give you a closer look at the actual phone itself, let's take a look and see what all comes included in the box. So here is the box. You can see right there, Moto G Stylus. We get some literature, a SIM card removal tool, a USB-C cable for charging and data transfer, and we get a 10-watt USB wall adapter included in the box. So we do get all the various essentials that you need to get started. Now with the Moto G Stylus 2021, we're getting a very large display at 6.8 inches. Now this display features IPS LCD technology. It is 1080p, so in general things do look nice and crisp and clear here. We're getting a PPI of 386. We're getting a 20:9 aspect ratio, so a more narrow but taller form factor here with the phone. And we're getting an 84.8% screen to body ratio. So in general, pretty small bezels as well. Now there are multiple benefits to having a phone with a display this large. The first benefit is that when it comes to content consumption, whether that's watching videos or even browsing websites or social media, it's going to be a lot easier to do all those various things because everything will be a little bit bigger. But in addition to that, considering that the stylus is the main feature of this phone that really does set it apart from many of the other options out there, having this very large display gives you a very big canvas to draw on. But we'll talk about the stylus a little bit more later on in the video. Now up top here, we do have a hole punch for the front-facing camera, and the front camera is 16 megapixels. Now internally here with the phone, we're getting 128 gigabytes of storage, and we're also getting microSD card expansion. So I am very grateful that Motorola is giving us that much internal storage, as I do feel like that is pretty generous. Now since getting this device, I have installed a variety of my favorite applications, and between that and also the system software, you can see that 19.65 gigabytes of space out of the 128 gigs has been used here. So even if you decide not to get a microSD card to put in the phone to expand the storage even further, you most likely already will be getting enough storage with this phone. Now there is no wireless charging with the Moto G Stylus 2021, but we do get a fingerprint sensor on the side of the device. So this is one major difference between last year's Moto G Stylus and this new model of the phone, as the fingerprint sensor has moved from the back to the side. And I actually prefer this quite a bit, especially because when I'm turning on the display anyway, I'm already going to have my finger over the power button, so this just makes things a lot faster and easier. In addition to that, it works very quickly as well. So in general, I'm really happy about this decision. Now in addition to that, the Moto G Stylus 2021 does support Face Unlock, so we do have multiple methods to getting into the phone. Now on the back side of the device, we have a quad camera setup, so we're getting a 48 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, we're getting a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera, and a 2 megapixel macro camera. So this phone does support portrait mode with both the rear and front cameras, which is certainly very awesome. Now here's how things look on the camera app. This is with the main camera right now. Then from here, we're able to quickly switch over to the ultra wide angle camera. And one new thing about the ultra wide camera with the Moto G Stylus 2021 compared to the 2020 model is that we can actually take photos with the ultra wide camera. I'm not sure if you're too familiar with the Moto G Stylus 2020, but with that phone, the ultra wide camera was actually only limited to video. So with the Moto G Stylus 2021, we can take both photos and videos with the ultra wide angle camera, which is certainly a really good thing to see. But in addition to that, you can tap on the button off to the left here to access the macro camera, and then you can get very close up to take nice detailed images. Then from here, you can go over to the menu on the side to access portrait mode so that you get those nice blurred out backgrounds. And then we can flip around to the front-facing camera here and get those blurred out backgrounds as well using portrait mode. Now you can also turn portrait mode off and then just take regular photos with the front-facing camera as well. So in general, we're getting a lot of different options here when it comes to the various cameras on the phone. Now another cool thing about the Moto G Stylus 2021 is that we do get support for 4K video recording with the rear camera. This is actually the only phone out of the 2021 G series that actually does support 4K video recording, as that feature has been removed from both the Moto G Power and the Moto G Play 2021 models. And then for the front camera, video recording is limited at 1080p. Now internally here with the phone, we're getting 4 GB of RAM and the Qualcomm Snapdragon 678 processor. So kind of an interesting choice there when it comes to the processor. This is actually one of the first devices that I've ever used with the Snapdragon 668, but definitely giving it 4 GB of RAM was a very generous choice. And in general, expect to get very decent mid-range level performance here with the Moto G Stylus 2021. Now I did run a benchmark test with the phone using Geekbench 5, and I'll show you the scores from that test. You can see here, I got a single core score of 538 and a multi-core score of 1588. So in general, I think those are very good. And I would say for the majority of people out there, the performance that you'll be getting with this phone is going to be completely fine. Now, also, you might want to consider running the Geekbench 5 benchmark test on your current phone and then compare your scores to the scores that I just showed you. But in general, I think the Snapdragon 678 is a pretty good choice. Now, it would have been nice if they had given this phone the Qualcomm Snapdragon 690 5G processor instead, but unfortunately, this phone does not support 5G. I am curious to know though, if 5G support is important to you or not. I would say at this point, it's probably not that important to most people. However, keep in mind too, that you can buy factory unlocked 5G phones at lower and lower prices. In fact, the recently launched OnePlus Nord N10 5G actually features the same price as this device, at least when it's unlocked, and that phone does support 5G. So considering that we are getting more and more phones getting into this price range that do give us 5G, kind of makes me wish that they also had given that feature to the Moto G Stylus 2021 as well. Now with this phone, we're getting a very large battery. The battery capacity is 4,000 milliamp hours, and this phone does support 10-watt fast charging. Now the software on here is Android 10, and it is a pretty stock variant of Android. We do have some different Motorola tweaks built into the software itself, but what's nice is that the various tweaks and features that they did make to stock Android add additional features to the phone, and really nothing about the software is gimmicky. So in general, just a really nice, clean software experience here that's also very well optimized. Now, one downside about the Moto G Stylus 2021 is that there is no NFC with this phone. That definitely is a bit unfortunate, as I know that now, more than ever, mobile payments are getting very popular. So if you are someone that likes to use Google Pay, for example, and make NFC payments, you're not going to be able to do that here with the Moto G Stylus 2021. But now that we've gone over the major specifications of the phone, let's take a closer look at the hardware. Now I already talked quite a bit about the front panel here. In general, a pretty nice looking display. Of course, it would have been nice if the display was OLED, but I think it is good enough here. And I am grateful that we are getting a 1080p panel. Now taking a look at the left side of the phone, we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. The phone does feature an all-plastic build, by the way, just want to make that clear. Then on the right side of the phone, we have the fingerprint sensor that's also the power button, volume down, volume up. Then up top here, we have the noise canceling microphone. Then on the bottom of the phone, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, microphone, and the speaker. Also, I do want to mention that this phone does feature just the single speaker on the bottom, and Motorola did remove stereo sound from this phone. Previously, with the 2020 Moto G Stylus, you'd get audio coming out of both the bottom speaker, but then also the earpiece. But unfortunately, I guess Motorola decided that they wanted to save some money here with this phone, and they've removed that. And when you're watching videos or listening to music or doing anything besides phone calls, you're only getting audio that comes out of the bottom speaker. Obviously, for phone calls, the earpiece still will give you audio, but that's one of the few times that the earpiece is actually used. Now we'll get to the stylus in a second, but obviously it is here in the bottom of the phone. But then on the back of the phone, we have that quad camera setup. We have a very large flash as well, and then that's pretty much it. So a very minimalist setup here with the device, and in general, I think it does look nice. Now the back panel, which is plastic, is also very reflective, and it does pick up fingerprints, but in general, those fingerprints are not really that obvious, which is something that I do appreciate. Now, the signature feature of the Moto G Stylus 2021 is definitely the stylus. There really aren't too many other options out there when it comes to budget or mid-range phones if you do want a stylus. Really, the only other options out there are the LG Stylo 6 and then also the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Lite. But beyond that, you're gonna have to get into the main Samsung Galaxy Note series of phones if you do want a stylus. And obviously phones like the Note 20 Ultra or the regular Note 20 that are the most recent phones in the Note series do cost significantly more than this phone. So if you are looking to not spend too much money, but you do want a stylus, this is really one of a small handful of different phones to choose from. But one of the new things with the stylus, with the Moto G Stylus 2021, is that instead of having to dig your finger in and pull out the stylus, we now have a pop out, pop in form factor here, which is definitely a bit more premium and does remind me quite a bit of the various Note series phones. But let's take the stylus out right now and I'll show it to you. So in general, the stylus is pretty bare bones. You're not getting too many functions with it. Of course, you can use it to navigate around the actual phone itself. And when you do take the stylus out, you do have a little pop-up on the side here with some different tools available. Now, we do also have the ability to add some other shortcuts. You can pretty much add any app that's on the phone to this sidebar, and there's a lot of different customizations that you can make regarding this. But for now, we'll go over to the coloring book. That's pretty interesting. So you can pick something out, for example, and color things in. But you can see then from here, you can color things in, which is definitely pretty awesome. So kind of a cool thing to do if maybe you're kind of bored and you want to draw, for example. But also, you have the ability to take notes here with the phone. So you can tap on this plus button up top here, and it will give you a nice blank canvas where you can then write different things down. So we're definitely getting some interesting functionalities here when it comes to using the stylus. Of course, not quite as many different options and abilities as a more premium phone like the Galaxy Note, for example. But at least if you're not so sure if you're going to use the stylus or not, but you want to try out a phone that does have one, then you're not going to be investing nearly quite as much money into your purchase by getting the Moto G Stylus 2021. But this concludes my hands-on and first impressions video of the Motorola Moto G Stylus 2021. I'm definitely curious to know what you think about this phone, and definitely stay tuned for a variety of different videos about this device here on the channel. But this is Kevin here. This is the Motorola Moto G Stylus 2021, and I will see you in the next video.